everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
Today we're talking about another popular icon from Japan that's become legendary in the U.S.,
Godzilla! This franchise is about a monster who protects Japan from other invading monsters and even aliens in every movie.
Godzilla has had countless movies, games, comics, fan art, a reboot movie in 2014, and a new Netflix series this year.
Godzilla forever! Oh my gosh, Godzilla has been around longer than you and I. It came out, if I'm not mistaken, in the 50s, right?
I think so, because there was a time, remember, we actually found a Godzilla movie on TV that they were playing, those the retro channel, MeTV, and they played Godzilla versus King Kong as their Saturday movie night.
It was 1954. 1954, and Godzilla is still going strong, as you mentioned, with a new Netflix series. And this series is a lot different than the traditional Godzilla movies we've seen. Even the reboots that were done in the 2000s still had a lot of semblance to the original concept. This one is quite a bit different, but we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
So, let's talk a little bit about the franchise starting and how Godzilla has impacted pop culture, animation, movie making, and so much more.
Okay. So, the character was created by Tomoyuki Tanaka, I believe.
Tomoyuki Tanaka.
And who are the other two people involved?
Ishiro Honda and Eiji Tsubaraya.
Okay. So, they created the character, and you said it was in the first film in 1954. And then after that, they also had 29 films after that.
And the great thing is Amazon has almost all of these original movies.
Right.
And what was really fun when you go and you watch these and you have your retro night is that Godzilla was in a guy in a suit being filmed.
Right.
And they had this sound stage, where they made it look like a city, and he was a giant monster. So that was your original CGI.
Right.
That's your original CGI. And he also was the catalyst for other shows like Ultraman that did the same thing. It's a giant robot, but it's actually a man in a suit, and the monsters are in a suit, and they do these battles, and it looks like a giant Japanese city, but they've created again this whole soundstage and this set, which was brilliant when you think about it. In 1954, they were doing this kind of stuff,
right?
And when they filmed it, and you're watching it, you don't sit and look at it like, oh, Godzilla looks like a man in a suit. No, it looks like a giant monster that's over a city.
So right. So really good effects for the time.
Exactly.
And he was portrayed by quite a few people when he was in when people were in the suit. And then, of course, now, especially when the video games that came out and the TV show and then the 2014 movie, then they started using all these special effects. Unless, of course, they have like someone in motion capture or something. Unless they're doing that,
that's probably what they do now. That's probably what they would do now. There have been 13 people who have actually been in the Godzilla suit.
Wow.
But yeah, motion capture is probably how they do it now. It will be more effective since it's computer generated now. It is CGI now.
Right. And also found out that it has some crossovers with King Kong and Godzilla vs. King Kong.
Yeah.
And also crossover with Fantastic Four, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and the Avengers.
Now, the Avengers, I didn't know. That one was new to me. So.
And I've seen a lot of fan art online where Godzilla crosses over a lot of monsters and other creatures from other movies. There's been one where they want concepts to be done like Godzilla versus Superman, Godzilla versus the Avengers, Godzilla versus Transformers. So there's a lot of worthy opponents for him to go for.
And from what I understand, the name Godzilla is a combination of two Japanese words meaning gorilla and whale. So he was described as a cross between a gorilla and a whale, and alluding to size and that he's able to go into the water and be aquatic. So that was pretty pretty neat. Because I always thought it meant like giant lizard or giant
I guess he'd be dinosaur.
Right.
He'd be Godzilla or something. Because, you know, I guess it would be that if it was. But yeah, I'm like, that's why he's got a Godzilla?
Right.
Okay. And look, even he's called a mutated dinosaur. So where did that come from?
Right. But I mean, for me, I remember watching these movies as a kid because they have, all the way up to recently, these movies were in constant rotation as reruns. All the way through the early 2000s when they made a remake with Matthew Broderick. But up until that time, these movies were in constant rotation being replayed as reruns, not only on the Svengoolie channel, but just on different stations that would show classic movies or older movies, so you could always see Godzilla. But now, unfortunately, that time has gone since everything, people have bought the rights to everything. But again, you can go to Amazon, and they have almost every Godzilla movie that's being made. A few of them are even free. So if you have Amazon Prime, you're actually able to see the movies without having to pay extra.
Right.
So that should be a treat for anyone who hasn't seen them. It's campy fun. It's sci-fi fun. It's fun even just seeing the Japanese culture during that time. It's just fun. It's just fun.
And I remember there was also a cartoon on in the 2000s. I never watched it, but they would advertise it on a channel used to be called Jetix before Disney got it. And they would have a Godzilla animated series. It didn't look like him. I guess they were going for a different look. And they had these, of course, teenagers, and they were kind of like a news reporter crew, and they would film the attacks when aliens and stuff would come attack the city. They weren't in Japan, so somehow Godzilla made it to America, and he would come up when the city was in danger, so he was like the gigantic superhero.
Right. And, well, he's big enough to cross the transatlantic, so. And also there was a Godzilla Jr. back in the 80s, and he had a little baseball cap. And it's funny because this alluded to in some movies, and I don't know which ones, for all of you Godzilla enthusiasts and experts, I don't know which ones, but I do remember there were a few movies where there was a baby Godzilla. And he had his little roar, and he would have puffs of smoke that would come out like O's. I do remember seeing those. So, but yeah, and again in the 2000s when Matthew Broderick, the version with Matthew Broderick, he was also here in America. So he has crossed generational lines. He's crossed countries. He's crossed the transatlantic. He's crossed, animation lines and being CGI and man in a suit, CGI, animated, and also having some video games. And I remember when you were really little and they had this game called Godzilla Destroy All Monsters. I'm telling you, she was a beast. Oh, she could whip her dad and me and lots of other kids that were much older than her playing games. She was a beast. But she had issues beating this game.
That's true.
There was only 2 games that she would have fits with, and one was Godzilla Destroy All Monsters.
Yeah,
she couldn't beat the game, and she would get furious and throw things, so I had to completely ban her from playing the game.
Yeah, I do remember because I was at the end of the game, and there was one monster. I unlocked everything. There was one level left before I finished the game, and I couldn't beat it no matter what, and that just pissed me off. And then the game I still have is called Save the Earth, where this woman, alien, is collecting power cells from Earth, and she sends monsters to get it, and it's your job as Godzilla or some other monster to get them before her and defeat every opponent you get, and defeat Space Godzilla, which just had like giant crystals on his shoulders. Like, how is he fighting then? And I was actually fun. I would play that with you. There was a time I almost got a little too much. I was like, Mom, I'm wanting to play this game too much. I'm going to stop for a little bit. But that's one of the best games, and it had lots of different monsters to choose from. You got to play the games, and you also had 2 versions of Godzilla. They had the 90s one and the 2000s, and that was pretty cool.
Now, which one did we play? Is that the Destroy All Monsters where you would we would just sit and spend hours just stomping on the city and destroying
Save the Earth.
it. Okay, save the Earth. It was just fun. You'd be able to stomp. We pick, you know, if you want to be Godzilla or one of the monsters he would defeat, and then we would sit and just stomp the city to pieces instead of just actually playing the game. There were times we did actually play the game and compete against each other. I do remember I really, really liked it.
Yeah.
I think what was interesting about this character is that you understand in the beginning he was really supposed to be a villain, but he would save Japan on many occasions. So there were times when he was a villain, and there were times when he was the savior, and he would defeat monsters that were worse for Japan than he was. And they had some really interesting villains that were from outer space and underground and so forth.
Because now he's considered anti-hero. So, yeah, that works. Let's see, a few of the names I remember, especially from the video games, they had...
Gamera.
Gamera. They had King Ghidorah.
Mechagodzilla.
They had Mothra.
Mothra, yeah, that was the freakiest one I remember seeing.
The giant
like,
bug.
Oh, yeah.
It was a giant A bug. No, yeah, of course it's freaky. Rodan, who's kind of like a pterodactyl. Yeah, Anguirus, who's like a porcupine dinosaur. And they had Mecha King Ghidorah, which was just the same one, but with like a robot head and no arms. But yeah, they had lots of monsters for you to fight with or team up with, and it was really, really creative when they did these movies or the games. Oh, can't forget.
And then they had the 3-headed one.
Yeah, that's the one, King Ghidorah. Yeah. And don't forget Mecha Godzilla, where they just built a robot version of him to take him down, and that didn't work. So,
so this is the interesting twist if you think to a franchise. To my knowledge, there's no other franchise that has the character that's the villain and the hero, and as you said, at times even the anti-hero. So he just spans the whole spectrum of characters, and that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and I remember years ago they would have different commercials with him in it. Even before they started making movie after movie, and the time they had the Godzilla 2000 movie. There were 3 commercials I remember distinctly. They put them in. They were hilarious.
And that's the Matthew Broderick one, the Godzilla 2000.
Right. There was one where they had Subway's $5 footlongs, and they would always have people, either celebrities or random people, they will have their arms out for the 5 feet long for the sandwich.
That was way after that.
Yeah, a little bit, but they put him in anyway.
Right.
And he was one of the celebrities that did the $5 footlong. I'm a $5 footlong. He was like destroying the city and still doing that. It was hilarious. And then the second one would be when they were advertising for this car, a new model of a car, and it was like kind of squarish. It was some new model. I'm sorry, I don't remember the type of car it was. It reminded me of the Blueberry.
How long ago was it?
Oh, wow. Couple
Maybe
years.
It's a
probably 2014, yeah. And he was tearing up the city. It was meant to sponsor the movie as well. He was tearing up the city, and he was picking what he wanted to eat. He wasn't just randomly doing stuff. It was showing him he was like moving some stuff aside. He picked the most expensive car to eat, and he was choking on it. And he had to spit it out and say, "Even Godzilla can't handle the Volkswagen." And he went to go back destroying something else, and he couldn't eat the Volkswagen because it was too indestructible. And the third and final one I remember, it was hilarious. When Snickers would have these commercials where ordinary people would look like celebrities when they were hungry. Like Betty White and Aretha Franklin.
Ava Golda.
Yeah. And
you're not you when you're hungry.
Right. And so they had one with Godzilla, and he was human side, but still Godzilla. And he was with these teenagers, they were best friends with him, and he was joyriding, riding ATVs, and having pool parties with them and chilling. And then when he got hungry, he would turn gigantic and start destroying the city again. And they said, "Okay, give him a Snickers." And they threw a Snickers in his mouth, and he got happy again, and he started being a party lover. He said, "Even Godzilla needs his Snickers." And I love that commercial. It was perfect for summer and for that. He's actually not so bad when he's not hungry. It was hilarious.
So, yes, this is a long-running franchise, and it's still relevant because, as we mentioned earlier, Netflix has a new version coming out. And do you know the exact name of that Netflix series?
It was Planet of Monsters, I think.
And it's really strange the way they have it because we watched the preview. The trailer. And the trailer has this as Godzilla 20,000 years in the future. And this Godzilla has taken over the entire Earth and they're trying to take it back. So this one really is like strange when we watch it. It's like strange.
And if it said Planet of Monsters, I was expecting like the world's being overrun by every monster in the Godzilla universe, and he has to fight them all at once. That's what I thought. I didn't think it with him being turned on the humans and destroying mankind, and he takes over the planet, and then they're trying to kill him. I didn't expect it to go that route, but considering how they made Kong into a lovable, goofy, good guy, I guess Japan wanted to go the opposite route and make Godzilla a menacing bad guy with lots of action. Because if you think about it, like you said, there's not a lot of action cartoons now, so I guess they want to just really go full throttle on the action and make him a villain, so there's be a lot of action between humans and Godzilla rather than have two monsters fight. Like, what can be cooler than that? But then you screw that up too.
Right, because when we watched it, maybe we watch an episode or two and we'll have a different opinion, but right now it just doesn't feel like Godzilla.
Yeah.
So, I think they were trying to do something in the same vein as Lost in Space, which was a late 50s, if I'm not mistaken, late 50s TV show that still is shown in syndication on some of the retro channels. And Netflix did a remake. Now, this got really good. The first couple episodes were shaky, but watching it, it got more and more interesting as it went along, and we actually liked it by the end of this Netflix series.
And which show was that again?
The remake of Lost in Space.
Oh, that's true.
So I think they were trying to go in the same vein as that, because this also takes place in the future. I can't remember how many hundreds of years, and it's high tech and futuristic, and I think that's the same thing they're trying to do with Godzilla, but it doesn't have the same feel. It just feels strange. So again, maybe we'll watch a few episodes, see what we think, and let you guys know.
And actually, it's one whole movie. I think they're trying to do a franchise because it says a 1 behind it. And when we go to it, it's got over an hour in runtime. So I think they're trying to do like a multi-part series. And this is just part 1. Everyone wants to do MCU now.
Okay.
The last movie we should mention will be the one from 2014. And this was the first reboot in 14 years. And a lot of people were concerned because 2 things. One, the trailer they show didn't have Godzilla in it. They show all the people that were going to be in the movie and who was going to be fighting him. But Godzilla wasn't there till the end. All you heard was his roar and you saw his shadow. You never saw the monster in the trailer until it got to near the time of the movie. I guess they want to keep us looking as a surprise. But then you saw what he looked like and people were like, what the heck? It looked like he let himself go.
That's what I felt like. I was like, this isn't Godzilla. That's all I was thinking when I saw it.
Yeah.
And because of that, I had no interest in seeing it.
Well,
There's one thing I want to mention. And to me, I think Ben 10, Alien Force, did a shout out to Godzilla. In the 1996 movie, Godzilla laid eggs. And that means like lizards are able to lay eggs without being fertilized. And in that movie, Godzilla lays eggs. And that's a shout out, I think, to Godzilla in that series with my favorite character, Big Chill, suddenly starts laying eggs and out of nowhere.
Right.
So I think that was a shout out to Godzilla. I didn't realize that or think of that until now, that that's the same thing that happened. So I think that Man of Action, somebody there is a Godzilla fan.
Right. And we actually did see the movie, and we were surprised at how it was. It's a little different from, like you said, you've seen the older movies, and we know it had to be different, but when they do movies like this, like with Transformers, they seem to want to focus so much on the humans, or maybe the budget for the special effects for Godzilla were too much, so they had to keep them off screen as much as possible, which is hard because the movie's called Godzilla. He did fight monsters, but we didn't know what they were. They looked like aliens or something, and he was constantly getting attacked. And he didn't really fight back until near the very end of the movie, and he had to go right back to the ocean because he was like in pain or something. And it's like, he's been out of the game so long, I guess he was like, he should be using the Seattle point as a cane by now or something, because he was like, oh crap. I'm too old for this.
There's a couple things we want to mention. As I said, as we said earlier, that Godzilla has really, effect, I should say, on pop culture, and he's been so influential that Godzilla actually has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Oh my god!
I did forget that that he did a basketball promotion for Nike with Charles Barkley.
Oh, I actually remember that. They were, unless they just re-aired it years later or something, but yeah, they gave him little sneakers. They got someone in a costume. He was playing basketball with him. That was hilarious.
Anything else you want to mention or tell about what makes Godzilla, you think, endearing? I know this is probably not what it was meant to be when it was originally made in the 50s, but Godzilla has become an endearing and memorable character that is loved worldwide. You have even some of the monster characters he fought, like Gamera. Some of the names, they were characters from South Korea, North Korea, the UK, and they even impacted Cloverfield, which is a movie that just so misrepresented what it was in the U.S. But what do you think has made this character and these movies endearing still? Was it 56 to now? Oh my gosh. 60 some years later.
I think it's just the fact that the creature is just different from any monster ever. He was pretty much the first giant monster and will pave the way for all these homages and stuff, because in movies and comics like we saw in Teen Titans where they had this green lizard thing attacking the
He was the second. King Kong was the first. Back in 1920 or 30. And it was a silent movie. And then they had a remake with Fay Wray. But King Kong was actually the first so-called monster.
Okay.
But yes, he was the second and the most memorable and the one that has had the most impact. King Kong, where is he now? But Godzilla is still around.
Last thing he had was Skull Island. And I know at some point in the movie they hint at he's going to be in a new crossover with Godzilla, I guess, to remake the Versus movie. Mm-hmm. But I think it's just like the character itself, what they've done with it. It always does different things, and and what they use it for everything. And I'm glad that they haven't changed it to a point where it's almost unrecognizable, minus the Netflix one, because Deli was still told us, when he didn't care for Monster High, because, when they change the monsters and make them completely different and unrecognizable from what they are. If you want to see a scary monster, you want to see a scary monster. And I can understand it because of Godzilla. Like, if they went and changed him and made him like spokes monster for McDonald's or something that made him happy-go-lucky, then everyone would be furious. So I just that they haven't made such a drastic change to the character where he's unrecognizable and is not the monster you've known for decades, and has become just a pop culture legend, and is just still going on to this day.
And for me, I think, as you said, I do agree. It was such a different character. Such a different, so different from King Kong. King Kong was the first, as I mentioned, in the 30s, but it was just a giant ape. And back then, it was a great novelty that it hadn't been done. But Godzilla was, like you said, he was like a giant dinosaur, and that hadn't been done. And again, the way that the man in the suit and the what we could call the original CGI with the building of the stage. And I mean, they really went out and it was elaborate and it was well done. And then part of it too is like when you watch those movies and they're dubbed in English and you see the mouths moving in Japanese, but you hear the English coming out. And I don't know why America loves when that happens, but instead of people going, oh my gosh, it's not matching, we thought it was hilarious, and that was part of what we loved about watching the movies. You knew that it was recorded in Japanese, but it was English dub.
Yeah.
And they would try to find these voices that would match the characters that were in the movie.
Right.
And then they made so many. I mean, they made quite a few. I mean, was it 23 we said? 23 movies.
29.
29 movies. So, oh my gosh.
Right.
You really got familiar with the franchise, with the character. And again, you like Godzilla where he's the villain or the good guy or the anti-hero. It doesn't matter.
You just
him, love Godzilla. And my favorite part is the noise that he makes. And I remember reading a long time ago that it's part of it is from a train, the sound that a train makes. But that was my favorite part, hearing him make that sound.
Yeah, it's so iconic. Yeah.
And I would just get excited whenever he would make that sound, and I would be impatient when it would take him too long. I was like, when is he going to make the sound? When is he going to make the sound? So, yeah, there's just so many things about the franchise, the character, the writing, the presentation, and so many firsts that this franchise did that I don't think Godzilla is going to go away for a very long time.
Right.
It's a part, as you said, pop culture. It's retro, hip. It's fun viewing. It's historical. Gosh, he's got a star on the Walk of Fame. Godzilla is here to stay.
Right. So my last comment would be when you're talking about the dubs, like we've seen the movies where the sync doesn't match up. It's hilarious because they were trying their best, and you knew it was gonna match specifically or exactly, but it was just fun seeing how they tried. Like I said, finding people that sound like the voice would come out of the character in English, and it was really, really just fun to watch. And you could see like how off it would be, and it's a retro thing. Because
but they never tried to sync up. They knew it wouldn't sync up. They just dubbed it.
Right.
Now they tried, but then it was just like, oh, what the heck? You know it's Japanese. We just want you to be able to understand it.
Right. Because nowadays, especially the animation, people really are nitpicky about voices with animation. I don't think it's as hard with live action because you don't care. You just want to see it. It's hilarious. But animation, they're really harsh about it because there are people who can't stand the people that do it in English, and they rather read the subtitles than do it. It's usually called subs over dubs.
Well, then these are the people who I don't recommend watch the old Godzilla movies because they don't sync at all. But again, that was part of the fun. And it was just like when you would watch some of the karate movies from that period. And they didn't match either, but you didn't care. What was most important was the action, the storyline, the plot, and what was going on. And you cared more about that than you cared about the syncing. You just didn't care.
Right.
So I want to say a big thank you to Japan. Love Godzilla, big Godzilla fan. Thank you so much for giving the world just this unique character that is just loved and is going to keep being loved for many, many decades to come.
Yeah.
So we hope we did justice with doing this podcast, and we hope you enjoyed it. And again, if you're not familiar with seeing any of the original movies, go on Amazon Prime or Amazon and take a look, and you'll see just how much fun it is.
Right. So, thank you for joining us. I'm Rascal Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.
Rivers and streams, plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket, give it to you later on in the